We got a big part tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening's Traffic Safety Board meeting. Today is Monday, April 2nd, 2025. Our first order of business this evening, we'll just cover the safety things. Should an alarm sound in the building, just so you're aware, the exit is to my left, your right, exit to the front or rear of the building. With that, our first order of business this evening is review of the minutes from the March meeting, since we are now in April. Open that up to the board. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do introductions of everybody. Just go around the room real quick, introductions and for attendance. I am Eric Froz, chairman, and we will just go around the board here.
Hi, Kara Biddlecombe.
Max McCon, member.
Nick Alterio, member.
Dan Ryder.
Kevin Cantwell, board member. That was loud.
Elaine Sanders.
Patricia Dunn, board member.
Charles Percy, police department.
Scott Marshall, planning liaison. Bill Prunivoo, the building department. Al Spoke, the highway department.
Chris Schregel, engineering department liaison, traffic safety coordinator.
And I'm Mike Sucala, liaison to the committee and Amherst Town Board.
All right, now that we've gone through that, sorry about skipping that part, we will move on to the minutes from the March meeting. I will open it up to the board for any comments, questions, concerns, or corrections.
Yeah, I got one. I had a bifocal moment here. Page 2, line 1, very last thing, that comma should be a period. The end of a sentence.
Where are we?
Right there. Page 2.
Oh.
Right there.
Yep.
That should be a period. I had a bifocal moment. They all look alike when you're at your computer.
Right here, Kevin, on the screen.
Yeah, that thing right there.
Period.
Yeah, it should be a period.
Any other comments, corrections, or concerns? None being heard. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Motion by Kevin. Is there a second? I'll second. Helene has the second. Any other comments? None being heard. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried to approve the minutes. 8-0.
Isn't it 9?
I forgot my sheet tonight. All right.
Oh, done.
What's that?
Don't we have 9 here today?
8, I count. 2, we're only missing Cindy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, with that, we will move to the regular scheduled business of the agenda, just for everybody that is here in the audience this evening to speak with us, just so you know the meeting is being recorded. So when you do come up to the podium to speak, it is also streaming live on YouTube, so just state your name and make sure that you're speaking into the microphone so that you're picked up by the system, so anybody watching can hear you. With that, the Traffic Safety Board, so you are aware, is not a law-making committee. We are an advisory board to the town board. So any action that we take during this meeting, if it requires any legal action or any action by the town board, it would go to Councilmember Zucala to then put before the town board to take that action. Other items, we have the department liaisons with us this evening that they can take action if it does not require any action by the town board, that they can act on it within their respective departments. With that, we will not follow the order of the agenda this evening. We will go through the order of the individuals who are signed in. After we go through the individuals that are signed in, we will then go through the agenda in its regular order. What else do we have to say? I forgot my little cheat sheet this morning of everything to go over. So with that, we don't have any stop sign issues on the agenda this evening that I'm aware of, so we can skip over that part. Oh, we do have an always stop sign request. Just so everyone is aware, in the agenda this evening, there is this item for stop signs. Stop signs are a traffic control device that control the flow of traffic at the intersection. They are not speed control devices. We will mention that again as we talk through that agenda, just to be aware of that. Also, any information or correspondence that you've had with the town, everybody up here on the board has received copies of that correspondence, of the emails or any messages you've had. So when you come up to speak, you don't need to reiterate all of that information because we already have it provided to us in advance of the meeting. When it's time to speak, you can come up to the microphone up there, state your name. You'll be provided 3 minutes to speak. At roughly 2.5 minutes, we'll give you a single ring of the bell. At 3 minutes, we'll give you a double ring of the bell to let you know that your time is up. At that point, we will close the public comment period after everybody's done, and we will then have a discussion here amongst the board. With that, the only other item that I will bring up is, Kevin didn't bring up speed bumps. This board is in favor of speed humps and speed devices for traffic calming measures. However, there is action that would need to be taken by the town board and other departments in order to move forward with any proposal to install speed bumps onto town roads. If that becomes an agenda tonight, we'll go into more detail on that. So with that, I will open things up here, unless there's any other comments from the board of anything that I missed. With that, we will open it up to new business item number 2, as we have an individual signed in for that for Sierra Drive, the parking area, a request to prohibit parking after dark. And Chris, you can take it from here to give us additional background information.
Thank you, Chairman. This item number 2 is brought forth by a resident who's in the audience tonight, Brian, who lives at the dead end of Sierra Drive. Sierra Drive is part of the Muir Woods, Preserve at Muir Woods subdivision, located in between North French to the north, Campbell to the east, connects to Lynette. There is a dead end, which I'll just jump to right now, that is part of this subdivision, all the way at the far west side. It terminates at a turnaround, but there is a parking lot. That parking lot is intended for folks to utilize that to park for the recreation facilities to the west. There is a pathway that will ultimately connect to the other site of Muir Woods, I believe. So we'll get into that in the presentation. So the request is for a parking restriction after dark. The purpose brought forth by Brian is that fishermen and others are using this parking lot after dark. There is a safety concern for the nearby residents and the children in that area. There is garbage being left and other unwanted activities, beer drinking, etc. In terms of the background, this subdivision and parking area was planned and constructed to allow those to utilize the bike path that runs southwest, eventually to the Ellicott Creek bike path once Sawyer Landings is completed. Parking lot is entirely located within the town's right-of-way, and it was installed prior to any home building in the area as part of the original development. Here it is again. Looking at the overall plan, this blue line just indicates conceptually where that connection is going to be. And then this little insert window shows you where the right-of-way line is, kind of jogging around that parking lot. That is important to note because we would be subjected to, signs within the MUTCD. If this were to occur within a public park, we have more flexibility on signs. But given that this is right-of-way, we must conform to the MUTCD or get creative. So with that, I'll pass over to the board for discussion.
Chris, just going back to that map real quick.
This one?
Or
Or
the one that you had with the little, is it both sides of the street there? Or is it the other side?
yeah, this is like a turnaround for highway and garbage trucks, like a, I wouldn't want to say T intersection, but it's or T turnaround. It's kind of like a notch for
So that would just be,
turnarounds.
is there parking there as well for the resident? Okay.
Well, that's got a basketball hoop there, so it's got a basketball hoop.
Okay, so we will open it up to public comment at this point, and Brian, you can come up and speak. Can you just pull that microphone in front of you? Yeah, there you go.
Chris pretty much took a lot of my wind out of my sail speaking about this whole situation. A couple of things, just like kind of going back, when we built our house 3 years ago, this path was just supposed to be a little round path, just kind of for the neighborhood. They said wood chips in a circle. After we moved in, it converted into like this larger plan, which, you know, I'm not really opposed of because, you know, I like to ride bikes. And so like if it connects to the UB bike path, it's going to be pretty cool. Really where the concern is after dark. I got a 1 and 3-year-old at home, and when I go to bed at night and I look out and I see 3-4 cars, I don't love going to bed. I'm a little uneasy. There's definitely a lot of drinking because I clean up every weekend. So it's just kind of like come to a concern, and especially with when this path does connect with the UB bike path, it's going to become more popular. There's going to be a lot more cars there, a lot more traffic, and I just feel like some signs to kind of just deter, like, oh, you can't park here at night, like, and I just feel like that would kind of tell people that it's just a daytime situation. Also, on a secondary note, this parking lot has become a place of company cars for the neighborhood. And so any given day, there's a couple cars. They're there for days, weeks. That one car there is there for years, just kind of hanging out there. So on top of the fishing situation after dark, it kind of turned into a company car parking lot long-term situation. So that's really kind of my spiel, but I just kind of think about my kids and, you know, the safety of them with after dark parking. And like there's no street lights and no like this kind of stuff, so it's not even like it's well lit, and it just kind of freaks me out. So thank you guys for hearing my spiel, and I'll be sitting right there for questions and concerns.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item this evening? None being heard or seen. We will close the public comment period and open it up to the board.
The first thing I was thinking, is there any actual trespassing going on around your house? I noticed you have like a black gate around there, a black fence.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my
Is there anybody like walking back there actually like?
So they do like stuff like there's just people there that are like spraying stuff. There's never really too much trespassing. There are some dirt bikes that I think that in the past this used to be like a big like dirt bike path. So like behind like that little like waterway, people ride their dirt bikes there. But I think that's coming from like North French houses. But really like not too much around.
So Chris, on the signs that could potentially be posted there from the diagrams that you gave us, when you put the what is it, R7-2A or R7-2, any one of those where you have the times on there, does it need to be a specific time, or could you put no parking sunset to sunrise?
It's a good question. Going to defer to Al to see if he knows the answer. Is there R7 2A? Question is whether or not we could put sunrise to sunset.
As long as it gets past. Right? We have to go for a town board vote for-
Yeah, it would. But I think you have the flexibility to be creative. We've done different days, hours, school days. We've done, I've never seen dawn to dusk, or dusk to dawn. But
Dawn? I think that's what's posted in the town parks, correct? No parking.
What do they have in Glen Falls Park?
Park closes at 9.
Park closes at now. Okay, that's what
no,
they
it's
have.
not a park, so it's. So Chairman, our answer is going to be yes, you could get creative on the time frame.
So if
It
you
would be
were
up to the police department to figure out what dawn and dusk are.
But if you went sunrise, if you went sunset to sunrise, and you're there on a particular day, you could look at a calendar and know that
This celestial calendar, yep.
celestial calendar. If anybody questioned a ticket and they were there at 10 p.m., it's
Pretty much after.
clearly after sunset on that particular day.
But at 5:23 on December 18th, who knows what that is?
Well, you can always look back on a calendar.
That's right.
I don't think like my issue, oh, like not like the specific
normal parking restrictions for winter months would apply from 11 PM to 6 AM or 7 AM.
I don't know, is it a parking lot though, or is it roadway parking? Because if it's a parking lot, I don't know if that applies.
Parking.
It's street parking.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, given that this was the right of way, it would be considered street parking.
Captain seems to think most towns.
Oops.
10 to 6.
So it's not a town park, it is town right of way. So you could technically just post it to match town parks of 10 to 6. So we just need to determine where we want to post them.
First of all, do we all agree that this is a good idea? Okay, so now it becomes a matter of details.
A little late for fishing, right? Like, people might want to get up there at 6 a.m.
Yeah, but I think you're saying 10 PM. We're saying 10 PM to 6 AM.
I see, yes, yeah.
So we just need to, before we can make the motion on this, we just need to establish, Chris, we really can't zoom in any further for a measurement, right?
I can get there while you guys talk.
So normally we would pick the zone and we would set a particular foot radius. Would we want to just do it from the corner of where the parking spot is to the corner of the parking spot, and then also do it on the bump out on the other side as well? Other side of the street where it's technically the turnaround,
We could even, I don't know if it's in our purview, but we could even throw in a no littering sign for good measure.
Sugar.
I mean, if it's, yeah.
So as part of your discussion, I just want to, add that, and I brought this up to Brian in an email, that, potentially people that want to stay later may park in front of the residential houses, just pushing the problem. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that that potentially could happen.
right, so that's why I was wondering if we wanted to, and you get into there, if we would want to post it from the last driveway all the way to the end of the street, on both sides of the street.
So orange lines are the right of way.
Right, so could you post it from the corner of 254 and 255 all the way to the end of the street, so you cover that whole zone? Because if you just put the parking spots, the person pulls out and pulls onto the street.
So from here, you're saying?
Yeah,
Wrapping to here?
wrapping to there. Just make that whole area no parking, 10 PM to 6 AM.
Your neighbor's going to have a sign in his front lawn. Let's just see. Yeah, if you, right, and so it's just going to measure.
Or we're trying to keep people parking on the street instead. So, yeah, so.
That's 19. A typical on-street parking spot is 20.
They're gonna park there.
Clear this.
Could we just say halfway between the driveway and the parking spots? Post it there?
So like
How
right
does
where
your
my
across the
cursor is?
street neighbor at 255 think about all this? Did you talk to him at all? Because it looks like there's gonna be a parking sign right in his right of way there, or somewhere near there.
I'll just say 15 feet.
So if we say 15 feet, so we'll make the motion to post, well, that side would be,
Both sides.
well, what's the measurement on the other
You
side?
wouldn't be able to get a car between the sign
So Scott, you're saying 15 feet from the driveway?
Yeah.
Like right here? And then 15 feet from the driveway right here, and you can't fit a car and just wrap it all the way around?
And wrap it around.
Okay.
So that'd be I'll make a motion to post no parking 10 PM to 6 AM, 15 feet from the driveway at, was it 254 and 255? On both sides of the street.
I'll second it.
And a,
Oh, and no littering? Well, yeah, but you're complaining about garbage? Is there a garbage can there?
well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. On the no littering sign, I don't think we don't need town approval to put up a no littering sign. We can just ask highway department to post that, can't we? Anybody know?
Yeah, we do it at dead ends.
Yeah.
If you put,
So we can keep that separate, because that doesn't need town board action to put up a no littering sign.
you put a couple of good-sized garbage cans out there, people will use them.
Yes, but then somebody has to empty the garbage cans.
Oh.
So, all right, so the motion before us is 15 feet from the west ends of the driveway at 254 and 255, covering the whole area, both sides of the street, with no parking from 10 PM to 6 AM.
Wait, is that the west end or the east end?
West.
Is it west? On the end closest to the trail, let's just say it that way.
Right there. Any further discussion on the no parking restriction? None being heard, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 8-0 for the installation of no parking. So with that, that will be referred from this board to Councilmember Zucala. Councilmember Zucala will then have a public hearing on that with the town board, set all of that up to move. So hopefully by June, I would think, as it moves through all those motions that are required to do that, the highway department can go out and install those signs. So the other thing that we would ask is just referring over to highway department being a dead end street. If highway at some point, either now or when the no parking signs are posted, that they also install no littering signs in the vicinity with the no parking signs. And then we'll just refer that to Al and highway department to do that at their convenience. Any other conversations on this agenda item? None being heard, we will close agenda item number 2. Thank you for coming this evening, and hopefully it helps. With that, we have no other people signed in for this evening, so we will move to item number 1 for Kmart and Edgewater, request for an all-way stop sign.
All right, we are at the intersection of Kmart and Edgewater. This is an existing four-legged intersection. Their resident request is for an all-way stop at this four-legged intersection. It's currently signed as a two-way stop. Fairly recent review at 2023. Normally, we wait about 3 years until we review an item again, but it was a fairly light agenda, and this a resident wanted this reviewed again, so yeah, I put it on. The purpose was that she was almost in a crash with a driver who failed to stop. And she says if an all-way stop cannot be installed, she's asking that the board consider other signage that potentially could be placed. In 2023, like I mentioned, the last time this was reviewed, we have counts that are shown on the screen. You've got stops on Kmart. Edgewater is allowed to flow freely. And 85th percentile speed was not too bad, staying either at or below the posted speed limit.
All right, so if the person failed to stop, what would adding another stop sign do? Just another stop sign to blow off.
Let me just finish this and then we can open it up to the board. No, so here's the Here's the always stop warrant analysis that was conducted, showing that it is far away from being an always stop. For those new members and old, you're required to have 300 vehicles in the major road per hour and 200 in the minor. So the minor approach, we never got over 62. And the major, again, around 56, 50. We did actually confirm, well, I'll get to that in a minute. The crash data for the last 3 years shows 2 accidents. I apologize, I misspoke. She was actually in an accident. This is her notes related to that accident at the bottom. She had the right of way and the vehicle did not yield. Actually, I think the vehicle stopped at the stop sign and then proceeded and didn't yield the right of way to her traveling along Edgewater who didn't have a stop sign. Moving on. So when you look at the guidance for stop signs, the book tells you you cannot use stop signs for speed control. And it is essentially used to control the right of way at that intersection, and you should not stop the major street and instead stop the minor street. But it does have a little note in reference to what if both streets are relatively equal volumes. And if you look on top here, the entering volumes is 601 on Kmart and 569 on Edgewater. So it's pretty close. And again, I have to correct myself. Kmart is being stopped, right? So let me just make sure of that. So it is stopping the major instead of the minor in this situation. So when that happens, you have to look at other. Do I? Okay. Thank you, Scott. So it is, that's important. It is posted correctly. So this is Kmart, you're saying? And this is Edgewater. So, yep, the minor's being stopped, which is a good thing. The major is allowed to flow freely. But again, fairly close. So you could jump down to A, B, and C, and D and see that there are other engineering judgments that can be used to figure out where the stop sign should go. And this is another option should you want to use it. A cross traffic does not stop subplaque placed on the stop signs along the minor road, which is Kmart, to then clearly demonstrate to the stopped vehicle that they must be cautious crossing and yield to the major street, which is Edgewater. And with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
Well, this isn't the first time we've seen this area. So something's going on here.
I think the issue that you have at this intersection is there really isn't a clearly defined major and minor lane based on the traffic counts being as close to what they are. I think if you counted it on another day, you might find it to be the opposite based on how close they are to each other. I also find it very weird that there's 438 on Edgewater one way and 163 going the other way.
Did they come in? That's kind of weird.
So kind of a pretty big imbalance there compared to what you're seeing on Kmart. The warrants for an all-way sign aren't met, but we have taken action before to.
This is like that one. This is like that one in Eggertsville. Was it Marion or something like that? Where I think we opted to put in the cross traffic does not stop sign.
I think that would probably be since there is not a significant accident history, I would say that probably makes sense as the first measure to install the cross traffic does not stop to see if that helps to ease the problem.
Yeah, the last time you guys suggested or recommended an all-way stop at one that did not meet the warrants was at Hillcrest, and that had other elements of like an offset intersection. This doesn't have that.
No, I think the one, I think it was on Marion.
Maynard?
Maynard, Marion, it
Oh.
was, I forget where. Do you remember where, Greg? Yeah, I think Maynard and Hendricks, there was a thing over there.
Yeah, we placed a cross traffic does not stop at that location.
And I think that worked that's working pretty well. Okay, I'll make the motion. Put a cross-traffic does not stop sign at these stop signs to help mitigate this problem.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Kevin and a second by Kara. Any further conversations regarding the motion?
We need town board approval for this.
No.
Pretty clear, and
Yeah, I would agree. It's pretty clear.
it's just people being careful.
Can you just talk into that so it picks you up?
Going westbound on Edgewater has a substantially higher speed, 20% or so, from the traffic along Kmart or going eastbound from Edgewater.
Yeah, I would just be cautious on that because it just really depends where we put the counter. You know, if we found a good spot to place it more mid-block versus the other locations where we might have placed it close to the stop sign. The intent of these counters were really for volume, and I wouldn't put a lot of weight into the 85th percentile.
Any other conversation regarding the motion before us? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. So with that, we will refer it to Al in the Highway Department for installation of cross-traffic does not stop on these stop signs on
Kmart.
Kmart at the intersection of Edgewater. Any other, with that, we can close item number 1. Item number 2 has already been discussed, and we'll move to item number 3, Troy Dell Way, cut through traffic, speeding concerns, and stop sign compliance. Another one of our wonderful favorite streets.
Okay, another repeat street, Troy Dell Way, last reviewed by the board in 2019 and 2022. Resident brought forward, her initial request was for camera enforcement. Then after discussion, she changed it to cut through traffic, speeding, and stop sign compliance along Troy Dell Way, specifically at the intersections of Troy Dell and Spur, as well as Troy Dell and Catherine. And she reports that her and her dog were almost struck while walking in the neighborhood. These are the volumes from 2012 when we last studied it. In the northbound direction, we just have over 1,000 vehicles per day. In the southbound, close to 900 vehicles per day. Side streets are ranging from 300 to 550. And the orientation of Troy Dell, it connects between Sheridan and Maple. There is a little bit of curvature designed in this roadway, potentially to try to alleviate some of that cut-through traffic and lower speeds. It's all residential, and it's posted at 30 miles per hour. In terms of speeds, we have 2 counts. First one being at 170 Troy Dell. That was collected in 2022. It is in close proximity to an all-way stop, so keep that in mind. The 85th percentile was 32 miles per hour in both directions. The next one is at 342 Troy Dell, and it is not near an all-way stop. And as such, the 85th percentile is northbound at 37 miles per hour and southbound at 40 miles per hour. These were collected in 2019. Running through her list of concerns in terms of stop sign compliance, this map shows the stop signs along Troydale Way, specifically for Troydale Way traffic. The spur is an all-way stop, as well as Catherine. She's complaining that there is little stop sign compliance by drivers. I will note that this does not meet the multi-way stop sign warrants. When you look at the volume, similar to the last item we just reviewed, if you were to do a full warrant analysis at these intersections, it would not be met, with the highest hour along Catherine at 46 vehicles per hour, again, required at 200 vehicles per hour. So when drivers recognize that there is very little minor traffic coming off those side streets, they tend to ignore the stop sign and traffic control device, and that's why you have little stop sign compliance, and that's why those warrants are there. Previous recommendations, or I'm sorry, considerations by Traffic Safety Board. Dan Ryder at one point suggested maybe restriping this. We looked at a parking lane along that entire way. It would fit with two 11-foot lanes and an 8-foot parking lane. There was also consideration for 2 bike lanes and 2 10-foot lanes. None of those moved forward. And then Greg Dion in 2022 suggested that perhaps the town should look at striping all pedestrian and stop bars in this neighborhood. So just running through. So the ones at Maple and, well, at least on Sheridan would require DOT. The one at Maple, I think the town would have to do. Those did, I believe you guys passed that resolution, but I don't believe Highway has taken that on. I don't know if that's, more for when the next time it gets paved, but you can always reiterate that recommendation should you want to. With that, I'll open it up for board discussion.
I was there Sunday morning about 11 o'clock, and I made 3 observations really. First of all, the traffic coming out from the side streets, 100% of those cars did not stop at the stop sign. They slowed down, they looked both ways, they continued on. They did a slide through or whatever you want to call it. Virtual stop. The traffic on Troydale Way, those people stopped, they obeyed the stop sign, stopped at every one of them, didn't slide through or anything else. And I observed no speeding. Now, my intention was to come back during the day and during the weekday, to try to see about cut-through traffic. I did not do that. Okay, so I can't say anything about cut-through traffic. It's interesting, Chris, that you had a thing about yield signs on the screen tonight on Kmart, I think, or someplace. And the side street intersections here, these the drivers on the side streets are treating those stop signs as if they were yield signs. They come up, they look, nothing's coming, they slow down, look around, and continue on without stopping.
Well, it seems to me there's 2 types of evildoers here. There's the people who live in the neighborhood who ignore the stop signs because they know the neighborhood, they know what's a risk, what's not a risk. And then there's also the possibility of cut-through people who are in a hurry, who Dan didn't get a chance to see them because it wasn't Monday morning, they're getting late to work, and they got to go through and they blow through the stop signs. Those might be the speeders that we're hearing about and the Troydale Way cut-through people who are ignoring the stop signs.
So the root cause of the cut-through traffic is the intersection of Sheridan and North Forest.
Sheridan and North Forest, okay. It is only a block away.
Sheridan and North, the problem is, I will speak to it because I can call myself one of the cut-through people on random occasions.
Oh, we're going down from Maple to Sheridan?
If you go to the map view, what ends up occurring during the morning rush hour oftentimes, because people refuse that are driving to use the 2 lanes on North Forest at the intersection. So when you're on North Forest by the highway department in front of the church, it goes around the bends. You are coming up the right way there, Chris.
Which way?
No, go the other way. The other way.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Right there, you have 2 lanes that allow 2 cars to go through. You can see how the cars are stacked. The cars refuse to use the second lane that's there to go through the intersection, because if you use that lane, the cars that are in the straight line there won't let you merge back in when you get to the other side. You get honked, you get the finger, you get everything you can possibly imagine if you're the person that's crazy enough to go in the outside lane. You have cars that are trying to make the right-hand lane that can't get through, and they get backed up to stack through there. You have cars that are on Sheridan Drive, so it is easier if you're going towards the 290 and you're on Maple to cut through Troy Del Way and go straight up instead of having to go through that intersection. The timing of the intersection when you come home in the evening rush hour commute, the left-hand turning lane will be stacked as far back as it'll go, that you'll sit through possibly 2 turns, cycles of the light to make it through the light. So instead you are better off to go straight through the intersection, and then you can go up to Troy Del Way, make the left-hand turn because of the traffic signal that is at Mill. It gives you a break in the traffic when that signal turns, that you can easily make the turn onto Troy Del Way to cut through to get yourself over to Maple. So you can do whatever you want on Troy Del Way. People aren't going to stop for the stop signs. People aren't going to pay attention to anything. They're going to continue to cut through because they're cutting through because of the traffic congestion and issues at the signal at Sheridan and North Forest.
What happens if we don't speak so closely to the microphone? What happens if we put one of those new no cut through traffic signs on Troy Del Way?
People are still going to.
Well, if you look at the verbiage in the manual, it's really straight shots that they want you to use that, not collectors that lead to neighborhood side streets. You know what I mean? So,
Brompton?
well, just like what we used it on Arcade, something where it doesn't lead to a neighborhood. Is at least that's how I interpreted it, but I could be wrong. It's a fairly new sign.
It is a new sign.
Yeah.
So,
And if you're trying to get to Maple and you want to go up to Hopkins at the next intersection, then you're sitting through the signals at Mill, and you're sitting through the signal at Hopkins and Evans and Sheridan that all backs up as well. So your problem remains the timing, most likely, of the traffic signals on Sheridan Drive with DOT, which I think we've referred to DOT for a better coordinated traffic plan on Sheridan Drive between the whole stretch. I think they've done work with the paving project that they did last year from the 290 up to Niagara Falls Boulevard, but they haven't, in my knowledge or anything we've talked about, gone in the other direction for a coordinated traffic plan. So I don't know if it would make sense as part of this to refer to New York State DOT, the cut-through traffic concerns that we have being brought to our attention because of the delays at the intersection, and see if DOT can do any study at that intersection for enhancements and improvements. Going to the street itself, we've talked about this numerous occasions. We've gone through this numerous times. Other than police enforcement at the stop signs and speed control, and if you want to solve the problem, put speed bumps on the street. People won't cut through it, but nobody wants a speed bump. So our ability to do anything on this is extremely limited. You already have a curved street. It's not like it's a straight street.
So what you're saying is the traffic problems at Forest and Sheridan, because there's traffic signal problems, it bubbles back over onto Troy Del, because that's the easiest way to go.
Your cut through traffic. Your cut through traffic, if you want to see it, be on Troy Del Way between probably 7:30 and 9 a.m. and be there between 4 and 6. And you can witness the cut through traffic. Outside of that, this traffic concern probably isn't that much of a concern outside of those hours.
Okay, I'm thinking, all right, so what you're asking is we ask the state to review what? The timing of the signal?
The state to review ways to keep the traffic on Sheridan Drive, North Forest and Hopkins where it belongs. If it's a state corridor that is creating the problems with the congestion that their intersections, that is causing the traffic to cut through to the residential streets. So we can refer to DOT to take a look at it. DOT will probably kick it back to us, but it's an effort. If they're doing any work on Sheridan Drive, milling, paving, anything else that they might do there, or any traffic coordination, bring it to their attention that it's a concern.
What about isn't North Forest a county road? Would the county have to be
It's a
consulted?
DOT intersection.
DOT intersection on a county road? Okay.
Sheridan Drive is a New York State road.
Yeah, I mean, let's ask them and say, hey, guys, take a look at it, see what's up.
Yeah, but the problem is really residents there didn't want it rebuilt.
That is what it is. So we don't address North Forest Road, we push the problem to Troy Del Way. I'm not sure if anyone has any, we've talked about striping the road. We can refer that back to highway again to put the stop bars in on Troy Del Way at the stop signs to try to help with the the stop sign compliance. But if you were to do the counts at those intersections, which I think we've looked at, we're probably not meeting warrants for the stop signs that are there.
What would happen, what would the stop sign configuration be if this was built today, not like 50 years ago?
There probably wouldn't be any stop signs.
There might be stop signs on Catherine, might be stop signs on the spur, but not on Troydell at all.
Right.
So that's what you gotta consider too. I mean, again, there's some of those neighborhoods that was designed 50, 60 years ago, before intelligent traffic studies.
The town will never take down. Yeah, they're not gonna take down the stop signs.
No.
Wide open spaces.
Mm-hmm. Country roads. Oh,
Yeah, I don't really think we can do anything other than refer to.
well, do we want to pursue the striping?
Striping, we can refer that back to highway to reconsider stop bars at the stop signs. That's highway's can of paint.
Yeah, at least the ones along Troy Del Way, where there are stop signs, maybe just adding more conspicuity to the stop signs.
The reason why I proposed the lane changes before was because Troydell Way appeared on some map as the connection bike path between the village and the town bike path over at North Forest and Maple. Troydell was the route to get from Sheridan to Maple. Familiar with that map, Chris?
No, I'm not. The problem with that is once you establish bike lanes, everyone along that street loses their on-street parking.
They got long driveways.
I drove that section at 11:10 on Sunday. I must have been right behind you, Dan. And I didn't see any parking. I didn't see anybody doing on-street
No,
parking.
it was wide open.
Yes.
Well, look at the length of the driveway.
Oh, I know.
They're
Yeah.
they're all double wides.
And I think, didn't we suggest to people, the last time this was in front of us, that they, like, if they're having a speeding problem, to park their cars on the street, and they're like, well, I tried that once and I had my mirror knocked off.
Yeah, I think we did.
So, Chris, it's a wide street too, isn't it? Is it wider than 28?
Yeah, it is.
Like
I
30?
I mean,
I think
it
that's what
definitely
allows
has
you
a very
flexibility
country feel
to have
it.
those other plans.
That's probably why it was part of the bike path.
Yes, like 30. It's just, this I'll show you. Yeah, 30.
Was it?
30.
Right, but that is probably to take this motion before other residents on that street and tell them that we're taking away any possibility of on-street parking is going to be a hard task, heavy lift.
I agree.
to narrow the street.
Not making so Troy Delway isn't connected to both. So that they don't Sheridan or
Ooh, dead ending, or cutting, like Park Club laning it.
Every time we've ever asked residents if they want that.
Emergency vehicles that go.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason people buy houses is because of, location and connectivity. They're not gonna lose their connection.
One street over though, go one street over and get to the arterial that you need to. That's still convenient enough, but perhaps discouraging cut-through traffic.
I don't know, and you'd be cutting off like a way to get to the school
So, like,
too.
Zoom out a bit.
Yeah, you'd cut it right here between these two.
We're killing this.
For example, Norton Road. Sheridan. Troy Delway. Connect to Sheridan.
I actually think Troy Delway has a circular driveway, so it's safer to go in and out of the neighborhood. You can go in one way, out another way, or in and out both ways, but it slows down the traffic because you have to go down off a busy road onto a curve and then onto the neighborhood street. But I agree, I think the issue is the traffic on the other major roads, and regardless of anything that could be done in the neighborhood, there will still be GPS mapping devices on our phones that will take us through the neighborhood to save on traffic and time. I live in this neighborhood and my kids go to the school, so my map coming from work takes me down Troy Delway, even though I'm not going to my house.
I mean, if we close off Troydell, the traffic is just gonna go over to Mill, what is that, Mill and Sherbrooke, it's just gonna make that go through then. It's just gonna displace the traffic onto that go through, and we'll hear about that in 2 years.
I mean, and on top of that, if you tried to close off the road, you'd have to send a petition to every single person that lives on there, and there is no way that everyone's going to be okay with it.
Right. So if you were to cut off that road, you have those streets that are there on Fleetwood, Jordan, and where you are. But if you look at Troy Delway, if you look at Troy Delway, the other side of where Chris is talking, all of those houses on that side of Troy Delway would lose
Access to
their
the Maple
access.
Orchard.
They would have to go, now be pushing that traffic to Forest Hill
Yeah,
in order to access
yeah.
Sheridan Drive.
I'm not suggesting cutting it at the middle, also just removing one of the ends.
Well, then the people can't get through, the people on the spur can't get through one way or the other. and-
So, from one of the other streets. Gordon, Fleetwood Terrace, Tristan Lane. You have to make a turn onto Catherine Street, left on one of those to reach Sheridan Drive. Maple, you can still go north.
So you're saying cut it at,
Not much traffic there.
So the point is, make it so that it costs more, you increase the cost of using Troy Delway to go from one end to the other, because now you have to make a turn and then go down another street. So the cost increases. So make the cost more than what taking the proper approach.
Well, I get it. There's just no way you're going to get the residents that agree to it. They're not going to cut off their own access to the main roads.
I mean,
That's
you
just not
still
gonna
have access, you just have to make another.
No, I
turn.
know, but that would be a
And
significant.
so it's, for the residents to consider that. Do you want to have the cut-through traffic? Or do you want to increase the cost of people doing so, but you would hamper your own access slightly?
I don't even know if it would be slightly, right? So like, let's say you lived like closer to
Sheridan,
Sheridan.
between Sheridan, if you live between Sheridan and Catherine.
yeah, you now have to effectively make a left onto
Then you're also
Maple to
pushing
get
all
to
that traffic into somebody else.
Yeah, it's,
And
yeah, it's,
they're only gonna be here again.
it's just deferring the problem elsewhere. So either traffic, either we push the striping or we receive and file.
I think we refer back over to highway again for consideration of the stop bar striping during the season, and we also refer it over to Captain Pearson's for additional police enforcement for stop sign compliance and speeding concerns on Troy Delway.
So for the highway recommendation, you want crosswalks and stop bars or just the stop bars at the stop signs?
I would be happy with just the stop bars
Okay.
at this point. I mean, we can throw the whole proposal over again. We're in 2025, so we have a different, last time this was 2023, so we have a different highway supervisor that might reconsider the plan if we throw the whole thing back over to them for reconsideration.
I'm in favor of crosswalks. I saw that mapped out. That looked
I mean, we can throw the whole thing over there and ask them to take any portion of it. The full recommendation is here, but we would be supportive of any portion of the work being painted as
I'll send over the entire package with priority on the stop bars.
priority on the stop bars. And then also Captain Pearsons is here if he has any extra officers available that can go over there in their spare time to pay attention to stop signs and speeding concerns.
All right,
Any other discussion on item number 3?
So is that a yes on the referral to DOT?
Oh, do we want to refer to DOT as well?
why not?
All in favor of referral to DOT?
I
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
You're opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 7-1 to refer to DOT. Ryder opposed.
Got it.
All right, so we'll close item 3, move to item number 4, bike path crossing North Forest Road near Auden Apartments, request for pedestrian crossing signage.
So the resident couldn't be here. She is ill. So she prepared another email that has been distributed to you. Hopefully you had a chance to read it.
Oh, that's this thing, yeah.
If not, take a breeze through it now. So item 4 is related to North Forest Road, which is a county highway at a bike path connection to the Ellicott Creek pathway. The resident request is to enhance warning signage at this pedestrian crossing. At the time of, first off, Auden Buffalo, which was formerly the hub of Amherst, I believe it was called, or at least that's what it came in at, is located on the pin on the screen. As part of the build, there was a condition that a pedestrian connection be made to the existing Audubon pedestrian trail on the opposite side of North Forest Road. This was a condition of a special use permit and adopted by the town board. Scott, if I'm saying anything incorrect, feel free to jump in. Got it. So as part of that approved site plan, this was shown on the plan. Keep in mind, there's a note that says town/county and engineer to coordinate improvements for crosswalk. There was back and forth in the file relative to the safety of a mid-block crosswalk at this location. Ultimately, it was not put in. The county, being that it was a county road, wanted more than just a crosswalk thrown here. They wanted what's referred to as now RRFB, or rectangular rapid flashing beacon, which is essentially a pedestrian signal that you push and it flashes lights to alert the motorists that you're crossing. They did this due to the volume, speed, and most particularly the curve that is nearby. Therefore, this is what you have today. You have a sidewalk and it goes to the shoulder. There is a bike path across the street. Traveling northbound. This is a video if it works. Look at it go. Here we go. So again, traveling northbound, and there's the spot right there. Auden is off in the distance to the north.
What kind of pops up on you there?
Whose responsibility was it to put this crosswalk in?
It was, all I can say is it was shown on the approved site plan for the petitioner to install the crosswalk, but you need county permission to install the crosswalk. They did not have the permission to do so, to my understanding. So this is southbound. Let me just get through this, Dan.
So we can't get the developer to.
No.
Because the county won't let them.
So this is southbound. It's approaching right now. With that,
The developer on the hook for putting the flasher.
No.
no.
It was supposed to put the crossing.
Well, no, he's saying why wasn't the petitioner required to put in a beacon?
Where did the beacon come?
The county wants a beacon. In order for it to have a crosswalk, the county wants a beacon.
Okay, and the developer's on the hook. Developer's on the hook to put the crossing, right? And you need the beacon to get the crossing approval, so put the beacon in.
But the beacon wasn't part of the original deal.
Well, that's what I'm asking, and I didn't see it on the board tonight.
Yeah, so Dan, to answer your question, no, the beacon was not part of the approved site plan.
Well, I think. They did.
Which they did. And they were to put the crosswalk in, but the county won't permit it.
Without a rapid flashing beacon.
Without a rapid flash beacon. The condition is not there for the developer to install the rapid flashing beacon, which then becomes the town responsibility to install the rapid flashing beacon, correct?
And the warrants still aren't met.
The county's not doing it, so it would either be the town, or if Auden ever comes in for a site plan, modification of the site, we could request that as a condition.
And as the resident brings in her thing, we already know this from other times on this road. The road is in disrepair, needs a milling and repaving. It is something that could be considered by the county at that time of should they ever mill and repave that street.
Isn't this, Chris, isn't North Forest, this section of North Forest on the paving list for last year or this year?
I don't know that. I mean, you can see in the letter that was provided to you that she's pushing legislators to get this thing paved, but I don't know the status of the county's paving list.
I thought it was on some list.
But regardless, if they were to pave this, any type of betterment or, beacon would still fall on the town. And a cost of a beacon of this nature is 60 to 70,000.
Do we have any pedestrian, bicycle traffic counts?
We do not.
Should we maybe get some? See what we're talking about here?
At the board's request, the engineering department could do an RRFB criteria analysis.
Because if the county's insisting on it and the town, and we do one and we say, look, why? We don't have that criteria. Why are you insisting on it? We can just go back to a crosswalk then. I think maybe we should get some facts here.
So you're saying we should have
Engineering do
it,
an
pedestrian count to see if an
RFB warrant analysis check. Is that the proper nomenclature?
Correct.
So that is the step that would be required to do that. So we can refer, Chris, can we refer that over to engineering or that would go to highway
Nope, that would be us.
to do a pedestrian count on a nice, bright, sunny day, maybe even on a Saturday?
Yeah, we've got a list going. Keep in mind we have Chestnut to do. I think we have like 3 to do. So we would just add it to the list. We get to it when we can get to it.
Is there anything in the meantime that we could put up there of a pedestrian warning crossing sign?
Those kind of sneak up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I spoke to the county on that today, county engineer, Gina, and I said, we're talking about this evening. Would they entertain a pedestrian warning sign. This is a sign that we've utilized in other areas. Just think of it like a deer crossing sign, but it's a pedestrian. It's not with the arrow pointing down showing that it's a crosswalk, but it's a sign with a person walking that indicates that a person may enter the roadway. But Gina, the county thinks that that would then indicate that it is a crossing, a formal crossing, and
It is a formal crossing.
it
They
isn't
have
a-
a
it isn't a
ADA
formal-
they have
it
an
is not a
ADA
formal crossing.
But there's an ADA ramp there that goes right up to the side of the road. We have a sidewalk that's leading to the side of the road where we have cars that are driving down the street on a road where you would not expect a pedestrian to be based on the landscape of the road. Yet we have a sidewalk that's going to the white striped fog line of the road with an ADA ramp. So we either need to put some kind of warning of that coming up on the road, or we need to go out there with a backhoe and remove the sidewalk leading up to the side of the road. Like, we can't put an ADA ramp on the shoulder of a road next to the fog line and then say, we don't have a pedestrian crossing there.
There's a lot of stuff mixed up on this one. There's people stepping on each other's feet here, that it's not getting, what's getting done, what needs to get done isn't getting done.
I mean, when they paved the streets in my neighborhood, there were spots where they removed the ramps to the street because they weren't at a pedestrian crossing. They were on the curve of the road, and they removed them because it was deemed not to be a pedestrian crossing safe area through the curve, and they were removed. This is clearly not a safe spot to have a
Yeah.
pedestrian crossing based on how the road is configured in the signage, and it's sitting there.
To that point, I bet if Erie County reconstructed this road, they would take that sidewalk out.
Correct. So we have a liability to the town from the fact that there's a sidewalk there in the right-of-way of the road for a pedestrian crossing that should not be there. Whether it's on the site plan or not, we have an unsafe crossing that's been brought to the attention of the board. The town's now liable, right?
Brought to our
Been stressed
attention,
on
something,
this. Anybody can foil this meeting, can look at this meeting that we've talked about it. The risk is there.
the site plan got messed up. And because of that, there's no crosswalk. Because is a rapid flashing beacon required? Because it's not required, no crosswalk, there's no, something's gotta be there. If there's a sidewalk there leading to across the street, something needs to be there to warn people, because as we saw in the video, it pops up on you from both directions. It's like, whoa, where did that come? If there's a person crossing, like Eric says, that's a liability, and it's on the town.
I think we either need to refer back over to county and ask them to reconsider the installation of the crosswalk, just painted without the RFR, without the rapid flashing beacon. We can do the warrant analysis to determine if it's warranted to install. But in the meantime, a pedestrian warning sign in that area is warranted.
So if you were to do something without an RFB, it would look something similar to this, which is what we proposed over at Elmhurst and Gettsville. Crosswalk, 2 signs that say crossing here, shark teeth, or they're called yield markers, yield lines, along with yield to pedestrians signage. That's without the RRFB.
Chris, we were instrumental, I think, in getting the state to fix up the crosswalk leading to that small park on Harlem
Federal
Road.
Park.
Federal Park, yeah.
Did that end up a beacon?
No.
Nope.
Yeah. It's not, it's the same as it was last year.
Yeah, there's no curves. It's a straightaway.
Federal Park is still.
Significantly higher traffic count and higher speed count, probably.
Yeah.
with
I don't
no
know if they ever
beacon.
did that.
What,
Did they ever put addition? I think they did put shark teeth. I don't.
No,
No?
not yet. I just drove today. That's
Okay.
not there.
Put more signs up.
Shark teeth aren't there yet. And there's no flashers
There's
or anything.
precedence in the town that the beacon is not required. DOT has done it here. I think we have to continue to push the county on this, or we need to remove the
I mean,
sidewalk.
I would agree with Kevin that we do the study, show that, let's say the criteria is not met. We come up with a sign striping plan to give to the county, given that the counts aren't met, and then see what they say. And if the counts are met,
then we do
We'll
it.
either engage the town board with a request or pursue with the petitioner at a future time.
I agree with the recommendation of Chris.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye. Good.
Yeah, finally got one right, yes.
Okay, well, this will fall under old business, and we'll keep it on there until it's done.
You're gonna leave it under old business?
Yeah, I'll place it on old business until we have a count.
With that, is there any other new business to be brought before the board?
Yes.
I have one too.
You have one too?
Go ahead.
Okay, on Sunday morning, on the way to following Dan, Mike and I were driving on Heim Road by the mosque. And the mosque has come before us many times with traffic concerns. And oh my goodness, it was out of control. It was a holiday, and I think a conversation needs to be had with the imam to see how often this happens. Because I think this Sunday was like a Muslim triple header. There's a lot of stuff going on in Muslimdom on Sunday. But there was a mile. We counted. There was a mile worth of cars on, what was it, the south side of Heim? Yeah, the south side of Heim. And there's 3/4 of miles on the north side. We have pictures if you want them. People were blocking driveways. We saw 2 police cars helping to direct the traffic. Captain, was there any reports?
So on, we had a report or a complaint in advance that there might be an issue there. They've been putting out cones in the street,
Mhm.
blocking bicycle traffic and pedestrians, so we advised them on Friday that they couldn't do that. And then Friday afternoon, we sent a traffic investigator out there just to see what the situation was. Most of the cars are actually legally parked. It's just,
A mile of
people
them.
don't want to deal with the congestion of parking on both sides of the street. I believe there's one area that does say no parking Friday evenings. We wrote 12 tickets total out of the hundreds of cars that were there that night. And then on Saturday, we got 5 different complaints, and there was only a couple of cars illegally parked. And even the ones that were illegally parked on Friday night, a lot of them were just for facing the wrong way parking, not necessarily that they were parking for a spot. So there was not that many violations, even though the traffic looks like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And on top of that, what's that street that goes through that street? What's that street? We've seen the street.
Fairwoods.
Fairwoods, jammed. The cars on both sides, there's just one lane of traffic through going both, that was serving 2 directions. It was bad.
Yeah, we received 2 complaints this week related to that event. One was specific to Fairwoods, and another one was just general and saying, why aren't we requiring them to build more parking, and why aren't we requiring them to shuttle?
Okay, so
Those are both not in our realm of
what's happening is
abilities.
the mosque is a victim of their own success. This is a wildly successful mosque. They have got their people are there. They're doing the right thing. They're doing it. However, from what I understand, the mosques can only have like other churches, other religions can have 2 or 3 masses a day, and it's spread out like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and at 1:30 they have 3. All their services are at one time. Boom. So everybody comes at that time.
Yeah, but it's only 1 or 2 days a year, right?
Yes, this is very unique to this time of year. So we should use this as a basis for how it normally is.
That's the question we have to ask is, but we've had complaints about this all year round from through history.
This mosque, this area is a regular occurrence before this board with parking restrictions that have been placed on Heim Road, on, what is that? Mount Blue, Fair Blue.
Mount Blue and Fairwoods, yeah, okay.
Blue up here.
We've had the leadership of the mosque here. They've been very receptive to work with us to come up with solutions.
And
If
they've
we,
impressed me that way too. I mean, they've been very responsive. They're trying, they know there's a problem, they're trying to mitigate it, but they're just too big for their britches now. I mean,
I think if we're going to, with the cooperation we've had from the mosque, if we're going to bring this item up, I think it's an item that's warranted to put on to the new business agenda and bring it to their attention and invite them to the meeting that we have in.
That there were minimal actual violations. Right. And we know this is something that happens like.
well, it happens more than once a year. We get complaints all year round. This isn't the first time this area has been,
Yeah, but you got a dozen parking tickets.
well,
Drop the bucket.
Yeah, is there a safety issue? Is there crash history?
We saw cars parked in driveways. I was.
Safety issue, traffic?
Quite honestly, I mean, investigators didn't see anybody driving crazy for pedestrians or in danger. Nobody noted anything of danger. It's a lot of congestion, takes time to get through. But none of my investigators or the patrol officers noted anything of safety. But they obviously weren't there the whole time. They're there.
Well, yeah, it's clear that it's a busy time of year, and there was congestion, but there are minimal violations, and there doesn't seem to be safety issues. I don't think there's any reason for this board.
So I'm not in disagreement with that. My issue that I'm bringing up is that this is not an agenda item on the agenda. It's being brought up as new business of an area to concern. We don't have it on the agenda. If it is something, I think with the cooperation that we've had from the mosque in the past, it's in our best interest that if we want to further discuss this item, that we put it on the agenda for the May meeting, and we advise them of that for them to participate with us as they have in the past. I don't think we're going to solve this issue without their cooperation.
Yeah.
They've worked with us in the past. They've done different things in the parking. They have extra security people that are there to work with us from prior meetings. That's the question that I would have at this point of the board. Do we want to have Chris put it on the agenda for the April meeting as new business and invite them to the meeting and make them aware?
Is there a less, how should we say, less invasive way to bring it to their attention or?
We can just, it can go on the agenda as parking concerns at the mosque brought to the attention of residents. Chris has said that they
I don't have any resident asking for this to be an item. I
Okay.
had 2 people reach out with non-item related complaints. But my approach was going to be if someone specifically asked that this board review it, I was going to bring it to you. If you want to be proactive, Chairman, you're welcome to do that and put it on. But I think not knowing what the residents want out there, I didn't hear anybody say, we want more parking restrictions.
Okay, so with that, I think we table this item for now, and Kevin as a member, and Council Member Zucala as a liaison to the board, they are welcome to they have their concerns. If they would like to bring this to an agenda item, they can do so and submit the request to Chris to add it as an agenda item and to then be acted accordingly as a concern. Or Councilmember Zucala and, but Kevin, if you want to add it now, based on the comments from this meeting, we can, but
I think if we bring it up as an item, it's gonna be like throwing a rock into a hornet's nest. I think.
But we also need to remember that it is not currently an agenda item.
Mhm.
And if we, at this point, if we want to further discuss it, we have to take a vote as a board to make it an immediate concern that requires us to add it to the agenda at this meeting without notification to the parties involved. Is it an immediate concern that needs to be addressed at this meeting, that there's an immediate safety danger that it cannot be held to the April meeting if it needs to be discussed? That's the question. Is there a motion to add it to the agenda based on those concerns, based
No.
on the bylaws of the agenda?
No, I think I'm just bringing it up for board advisement, I guess.
Okay. So that's the advisement that I would provide at this point, is that if you want to have it added to the agenda, submit it as a request to Chris to add to the April agenda, to follow normal procedures to add to the agenda.
Kevin, I would just ask, if you want it on the agenda, you're going to have to email me something to get it started and what this board is actually going to be reviewing.
Let me mull it over.
Okay, any other new business?
Yes. The village of Williamsville has been kicking around traffic calming measures for a few years, and they finally hired somebody to make up a plan, and now they are going to take bids on putting in some speed humps and some more signage in the area of Eagle and Evans. That's where the problems are. So we might see something this summer.
So let's see how it works. Are you going to do any type of before and after studies?
Are we?
Yes, the village. Are you going to show that this is effective, like doing a traffic count ahead of time and then doing one after to see it?
Well, they hired Watts to make a plan, and they have a plan.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I missed the meeting prior, the presentation, so I don't know what went into that plan. What input?
Okay, so it's just an advisement to the board that so they're not moving forward with the installation, they're moving forward with the development of a plan.
No, they have a plan. The engineer made a plan, and now they're looking for money, I think.
If you just want to relay to them that the town is interested and that we would like to see a before and after to see if it's effective, that we could then use that information for our decisions in the town and make that part of the Watts study.
Okay.
Be also interested to just advise them that as we've discussed it, there's been concerns from emergency response,
Oh, we have all the same
Part of a-
concerns.
if that's part of their study.
Oh, yes.
It's required.
It's required. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Any other new business to bring before the board? None being heard, we'll close the new business section and move to the old business. And we have item A, pedestrian counts at Hopkins Red Oak. I'm assuming that is still held for,
This is one of the ones on the list.
and Chestnut Ridge Road, request for mid-block crosswalk. We're still holding for spring counts on that.
Yep.
And we will move item number 4 down to item number C on hold for business for April if we can get to it. With that, any other old business to bring before the board? None being heard or seen, we will close the old business portion of the agenda. We will thank our liaisons for their participation this evening, with the exception of Scott, who gets to stay with us longer, and we'll thank him when we're done. And with that, we will move to site plans.
Thanks.
Well, there's no official site plans.
No, none.
Well, there's none listed. Unless you brought some in.
I saw that down there. I thought it was.
I was wondering if you brought the doc. We done? No, the mask, no one appeared to be upset while we were driving along. It was raining and everyone appeared to be going to their cars as normal business.
It's definitely good.
What? It was tight, the drive. Yeah, the mask. And isn't just gonna push the traffic like over to the other streets like we talked? No.